Joseph was still a prisoner in Egypt, though God was with him even there in the prison because Joseph was trustworthy and wise. The prison warden put him in charge of the other prisoners. One day 2 of Pharaoh's officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, were thrown into the same prison after offending the king. One morning, Joseph noticed that both men looked troubled. He asked them why they were so upset, and they explained that each had a dream, but no one could tell them what the dreams meant. Joseph said, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dreams." The cupbearer went first. He said that in his dream he saw a vine with 3 branches. The branches budded, blossomed, and produced grapes. He took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. Joseph explained that the 3 branches represented 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh would restore the cupbearer to his position. Joseph then asked him to remember him and speak kindly of him to Pharaoh, since he had been unjustly imprisoned. Next, the baker told his dream. He said he had 3 baskets of bread on his head, and birds were eating the bread from the top basket. Joseph explained that the 3 baskets also meant 3 days. But this time the meaning was tragic. In 3 days, Pharaoh would have the baker executed. Everything happened exactly as Joseph said. On Pharaoh's birthday, the cupbearer was restored to his job, and the baker was put to death. But the cupbearer forgot Joseph and did not mention him to Pharaoh. 2 full years later, Pharaoh himself had troubling dreams. In the first dream, he stood by the Nile River and saw 7 healthy cows come out of the water, followed by 7 thin, sickly cows. The thin cows ate the healthy ones. In the second dream, Pharaoh saw 7 full heads of grain growing on one stalk, followed by 7 thin heads scorched by the east wind. The thin heads swallowed the healthy ones. Pharaoh was deeply disturbed. He summoned all the magicians and wise men of Egypt, but none could explain the dreams. Then the cupbearer suddenly remembered Joseph and told Pharaoh about the young Hebrew in prison who could interpret dreams. Joseph was quickly brought from prison, shaved, and given clean clothes before standing before Pharaoh. Pharaoh told him his dreams and said no one else could interpret them. Joseph replied humbly, "I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." Joseph explained that both dreams had the same meaning. The 7 healthy cows and 7 full heads of grain represented 7 years of great abundance in Egypt. The 7 thin cows and scorched heads represented 7 years of severe famine that would follow. The famine would be so terrible that the years of abundance would be forgotten. Joseph said the dreams were repeated because God had firmly decided it and would bring it to pass soon. Joseph then offered wise advice. He suggested that Pharaoh choose a discerning and wise man to oversee Egypt during the years of abundance, collecting and storing grain so the people would survive the famine. Pharaoh and his officials were impressed. Pharaoh said, "Can we find anyone like this man in whom is the Spirit of God?" He appointed Joseph as second in command over all Egypt. Pharaoh placed his signet ring on Joseph's hand, dressed him in fine linen, and put a gold chain around his neck. He had Joseph ride in the second chariot, and people bowed before him. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered Pharaoh's service. As Joseph had said, 7 years of abundance came, and Joseph stored grain throughout Egypt. When the famine began, people from all over Egypt and from other lands came to Joseph to buy food, because the famine was severe everywhere. God had taken Joseph from prison to power, using his faithfulness, wisdom, and trust in God to save many lives.